Chicks wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
Sorry, man. I had to add that one at the end. Thank you.
I'm just happy you didn't make me Rikishi.
Oh, no. I was like, you know what? Let's just make YouTube Rikishi. All right, man. Guys, welcome on a special Tuesday night. It is I, the Dumble, whose door is always open. Gandalf without the gray or the white, because I'm all black. Jordy LaForge captaining this enterprise and the people's podcaster. I am Left Eye E.G.O. And this evening we are joined by the rock, paper, scissors people's champ, the OG, the Philly streets. You know it, dOGulas. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm good. Busy, as you know, as we discussed beforehand. This is a hell of a way to cap off the day, but why not? Especially since it's still fresh in my brain.
Fantastic. That's what I wanted to know. I was like, hey, within 48 hours, I need to have. If it was terrible, we're going to have an autopsy. Or if it actually was great, we're going to have in loving memory of the Royal Rumble that happened this past Saturday. I know we're going to get to that, talking about your thoughts and your ratings on the matches that were, and pretty much how everyone received it, and as well as how this sets up for WrestleMania 39, which is going to be in California this year on
Hollywood.
Hollywood this year.
Hollywood.
Okay. Hollywood, April 1st and 2nd. I remember the days when it was one day, but it's now it's 2 days and what seems like 6 or 8 hours now.
No, it was
Okay.
like 6, 7 hours, and it was becoming impossible. Now, the best thing they ever did was split it up into 2 nights.
Oh God. Okay.
Seriously.
I mean, I guess it just sounds long for 2 days now, but
I
couldn't imagine doing
it was way worse. I think the longest one was WrestleMania 2019. It was 35. Right before the pandemic. The pandemic was the first 2-night gig, but like right before that, and it clocked in at 6 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh hell no!
That is entirely too much wrestling to watch in one day.
Way too much. Good Jesus! Yeah. All right, so 2 days it is. While we're going to get to that, let's go ahead and get to the comments that we've got on here. Just like a Cowboy fan running late. Wow, C4C. I have been getting roasted for the last week. Y'all leave me to my misery. Someone definitely sent me a picture of Apple turnovers and said, Dax said turnovers are served. You guys are absolute savages and will not let me live this down, okay?
Well, you should have saw how it was for the Niners, the 4 or 5 Niners fan leaving, walking down Broad Street Sunday night.
Bro, those are some bold
right now.
Bold ass people. I already knew I was not allowed to wear any gear nowhere near the link, but the fact that you actually tried to wear that on Broad Street, yeah, you're asking for some trouble in Philly. So
yeah.
Let's see what we got. I used to love wrestling, so I'm down for this. Thank you, Nos. Yeah, Scotty Too Hottie was the goat. Oh my goodness.
And was a trainer in NXT who nobody knew about for like
really
8 years. Yeah, that dude was backstage training.
Jesus, that's the one thing I actually liked about NXT and the developmental leagues is you got to see former actual pro wrestlers help the next generation. It was really cool. If Sergeant Slaughter didn't win, I'm gonna be pissed. I feel like that sometimes when I'm out of the loop.
Like you tuned into the wrong Rumble stream on the on the cock there.
I got you there, and we got Zach saying no, this is a savage macho man. All right, guys, thank you for joining. So, without further ado, first and foremost, I know that we had about 5 total matches that past Saturday. They were broken down as the men's Royal Rumble, the women's Royal Rumble. There was that weird pitch black match. You're going to have to explain that to me because I've heard Matt and Do put that match on. There was the, whatchamacallit, we had the women's title match, which was for the Raw title, and the men's Raw title match. Mm-hmm. So I know that we have those 5, but you can tell us, who was wrestling for each match, who won, and your overall rating of usually I'll do 1 to 5 egos, but since you had the shirt that says -5 stars, we're doing 1 to 5 stars in honor of dOGulas. Sir.
Perfectly analogous. Star equals ego. It makes sense.
All right. So first up, we just had the general men's Royal Rumble. First thoughts, how was the men's Royal Rumble that you experienced?
I mean, for me and pretty much everybody else, the men's Rumble was the best match of the show. It was a good Rumble. More importantly, it was a fun, like, exciting Rumble. You can have a good Rumble. You can have a bad Rumble. You cannot have a boring Rumble. The Royal Rumble must never be boring. I'll accept a bad Royal Rumble more than a boring one. Last year was boring as hell. Like both of them, predictable, boring, nothing happening, a bunch of mid-carders, etc. No, this year was like not the best. It was like top level, like top tier, top third. Let's say it was fun. It was interesting that it opened the show. Everybody's like, "Whoa, jerking the curtain with the men's Rumble," but it turns out there was a reason. There was a reason for opening with with any Rumble in general because of how the night was going to end. But yeah, I'm not going to go over everybody who was in it because that's 30 dudes.
All I remember was that the first guy was in there for a whole hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah, 71 minutes. Good.
Jesus,
you're gonna make me say his name. Gunther.
I forgot. Does it start with an S or something like that?
Gunther.
There we go. Jesus, wrong name.
Yeah.
Okay, Gunther was in there for like 71 whole minminutes. He was like number 2, right?
Hardcore wrestling fans like myself know him as Walter in all caps. Walter. He's been on the Indies for forever, and then he was in NXT UK and stuff like that. But like, so I hate calling him that name. He changed his name because Vince made him change his name back when Vince was around. They kind of want to own they want to own you, and that dude's real name is Walter, so they couldn't own that. So so they made funny story too. The initial name that they had them change it to, I can't remember it to, but as it turns out, they didn't do the research, and it was the name of a Nazi captain. And they found out or the internet found out really quick, as you guys do, you lurkers out there. And they panicked and immediately changed it to whatever it was to Gunther. And it was just like, how do you not do your research on that? Real quick, make sure you're not naming him after his not a Nazi, but whatever. But yeah, 71 minutes. It was a good Rumble. The fact that most people got a little story. See, that's C4C got it. Like, you need to weave all your stories in the Rumble. You can't just trot people out there. Oh, they punch each other. They go over the top rope. That's it. Like, that's what they did last year, and it sucked. And this year, they wove storylines and stuff like that. And Gunther had 71 minutes. Not the record. The actual record is Daniel Bryan, but that was well, that was at when they did a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, the first Saudi Arabia show, called the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was 50 people. So he lasted 70. Yeah, he lasted 76 minutes, but otherwise known as the Oil Rumble. But that's they don't want to talk about him now because he's in AEW. So right now they're just like, oh, Michael Cole said something. He was just like, and then the new record for traditional Rumbles. I remember somebody online was like, what the hell does he mean? Because there's been a couple Rumbles with like 40 and 50 people in it. So.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, even when you double check on Wikipedia, it's saying that it is the record now for Gunther. So that's why I was asking.
That's somebody who isn't as much of a nerd as I am, who didn't remember the fact that technically the Oil Rumble was a Royal Rumble. So
all right, I got you. So if we're going 1 to 5 stars on that one, in your honor, what are we giving this year's Royal Rumble?
Oh, what did I give that? I do like a knee jerk rating on Facebook when I'm watching. I'd say like star ratings get real. You can do like quarter stars and shit like that. We'll just keep it simple for this.
Yeah,
either four stars. You can go a little. You can go in between if you want. 4 stars. Really, really great Rumble. Basically like not 5-star, like amazing, but really good to great. Fun time. It's 71 minutes that don't feel like 71 minutes. That's really all you can ask for. Remember,
and to your point, like you called it on the video uploaded before this, is that you did say that Cody Rhodes was favored to win, and he did win. He was number 29, 30.
Yeah, they did that for the first time in Rumble history. Number 1 squared off against number 30 at the end. So it was Gunther at the end. Yeah, 4 stars. I agree. Gunther. I hate saying the name. Gunther at the end. With Cody, and at first I remember I said Cody was doing boxing training for stamina, and we're like, well, he's at number 30. What's stamina? Well, it turns out that him and Gunther at the end had like a mini 7-minute match at the end. They do that sometimes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, where the last 2 of them are just like, all right, everybody's gone now. It's just the 2 of us, and they have like a kind of like a one-on-one kind of thing. And so Cody, I think was in there for like 10, 12 minutes or so on average. So, but yeah,
okay, cool.
The only surprise, the Rumble's always about surprises too, but the only surprise was Booker T making an appearance because they were in Texas.
Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot.
And
Okay,
he came out looking like a wishbone. His legs are like bowing out this way. Like, yeah, upper body, he looked pretty good. I think he's in his like late 50s, and like upper body, he looked great, but like lower up down, it was like, oh, you're bow-legged, dude.
Bow-legged as shit. Okay, all right, damn, all right.
And Sammy wasn't in it at all, and I like I said, I didn't think it would be a problem that he wasn't in it. It was smart that he wasn't in it. His whole thing is he wants to be in the bloodline with Roman Reigns. Why would you enter the Rumble to win a title shot if you're trying not to piss off the guy with the title? So it made perfect sense.
All right, not to detract here. What I saw this with Kofi. What the hell happened? I saw him on the ground, and I was like, what did he do this time?
All right, so people remember the Kofi spot. If you don't know, look him up, Kofi Kingston. He would always like get eliminated and like save himself in a crazy way. Like he would like Spider-Man cling to the railing. He would land on the ground. And the New Day would put pancakes under his feet so his feet weren't touching the ground. They were on pancakes. It's so dumb, but it made me laugh. In one year, he like flew onto the desk and then got onto a chair and like hopped the chair over to get back in. He did a handstand one year. Anyway, well, last year he tried to do the whole thing where he got thrown over and he jumps to the railing and he fucked up. He fucked up and his feet hit the ground. And everybody saw it. Everybody in the front row was like pointing, like no, blah 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 blah. And they waited, and you could see it on his face. He was like, "What are we gonna do?" And like the ref who was talking, the refs are all talking to the people in the back the entire time. So the ref was like, no, Vince, like at the time, Vince wasn't there this time, but I guess at the time, Vince last year was like, fuck it, and then screamed and said he was gone. Well, they tried to do another one this year. It looks like Kofi was, Xavier was thrown, the other New Day guy was thrown out first, and he was standing by like one of these, leather chairs, like the one we're sitting on now. And it looked like Kofi was thrown out, and he was supposed to land in the chair and stay there. And the chair was going to stay up because Xavier was bracing it. Like you could tell he was like holding it. He'll hold the chair like he's like, and then Kofi will land. He'll hold it and keep it up. Well, that didn't happen. And I don't think Kofi fucked up this time, but the chair shot out from underneath him and went fleeing over to the side, and Kofi landed on the ground like a sack of shit. And you could tell he tried to save it. His like left foot was like sticking up in the air on the chair, and Michael Cole like scrambled and said like, "Oh, I don't know if that counts. Kofi's his foot never hit. It's still up in the air." But then like 15 minutes later, me and where we're watching with, we're like, "Well, I don't see Kofi anymore. I guess he fucked up again." Okay. And he went on Twitter yesterday and officially said "RIP" to the Kofi spot. So it's done. That wasn't, but you know what? That's okay, because other people that watched it know that Ricochet and Logan Paul, I hate how good he is at wrestling.
I was gonna.
They had the spot of the night. They had the spot of the night. That's the new Kofi spot. If Ricochet gonna do that for the next 5, 6, another 5 or 6 Rumbles, then that's fine, because that was incredible. They did a slingshot from either side of the ring and met in the middle above it, like clashed like they were superheroes. It was incredible.
That's fucking dope. Okay, that man is multi-talented. Say what you will about him, but Jesus.
And I'll say what you will, and I'll let you say every word of it. He's a douchebag, but goddamn, he can wrestle. Like he's just a natural at it, and he's probably going against Seth at Mania this year. That's the word. That's the word.
This man's making money. Holy shit. Okay. All right. I guess I'll have to roll back up to that later, because we're gonna ask how everything lines up for WrestleMania this year. But as far as the women's Rumble, how was that?
See, a lot of people said that like, it was mostly wasn't that great, except the end was really, really good. So just watch like the last 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and I agree the end was awesome, but I didn't think it was a bad Rumble at all. I thought it was not great, but it was decent. It's indicative of the problems of women's wrestling, in that basically, and I've been saying this is my hill to die on. Like, I don't understand why people don't like women's wrestling as much as men's wrestling. It makes no sense. I don't care who's wrestling. If they had a bear division, I'd watch the wrestling bears. I don't care. I don't really care. For me, it's just something that it doesn't matter who you are, because it's choreographed anyway. So But they're kind of told to go out there and fight, but don't fight too hard. Worry about how you look, and don't get too messed up. And it's just they're worried about a lot of stuff that the guys don't have to worry about. And I feel bad.
Your favorite girl was Nia Jax.
Oh yeah, Anime Night's absolutely correct. I hope it's just a spot appearance. I hope they didn't hire her back. I hope that was just like she was just a surprise. She kept screaming, "I'm back," but then again, she came out there. Rhea Ripley looked like she tried to slam her. Looked like she dead weighted Rhea and didn't go up for her very much at all. So Rhea couldn't do it. I detected a sense of Rhea being like, what, like F you at the end of it, being like kind of angry at her for not going. It's just nobody was happy to see her. I hope that they're rethinking anything they might have been thinking. But anyway, but it was good. I mean, I call it like I call it 3 stars, maybe like a high 2, like average as 3. Like again, your mileage may vary. Star ratings are totally subjective, but I call it like 3, maybe like a high 2 because like it wasn't boring. There was some cool stuff. It mostly was very patterned. Somebody said it was patterned, and we'll get to that. C4C absolutely.
All right.
It was patterned. It was just like woman comes out, punch, move. They either get tossed out or they don't. Next, there was a long stretch of like 10 people in a row that like 10 women in a row that like it was just like, okay, this is getting patterned. This is getting samey, But yeah, at the end of it was really good. The right person won. Rhea Ripley has been awesome this year, especially coming back from some concussion scares that she had earlier over the summer. She's killing it in character work, killing it with Judgment Day. She's an awesome wrestler. She's got a fantastic. I've loved her in NXT. So I was kind of she challenged Charlotte, not Scarlett. Scarlett's not wrestling yet. Hopefully never because she's terrible. But she challenged Charlotte. We'll get to that the next night. But she was awesome, and the return of Asuka, who was only gone for like a couple of weeks, but I remember I told you like Asuka had been showed up on Raw once and did her little mask thing, and she didn't have any paint or makeup on. She was just plain faced, and she was very dead faced and looking very like something was wrong, with her. And the announcer's like, she seems kind of out of it. Something's wrong. Well, then she disappeared, and on her Instagram, she had been showing photos of her Kana. I forget what the character was, because her name is Kana. Or like, I think it's her name. In Japan, she wasn't Asuka. She was Kana, and she did like a psycho clown kind of thing where she painted her face really scary looking and like a zombie clown kind of look. And she came out at the Rumble. She came out with a different kind of mask and took it off, and it was this whole mutated clown look, and she looked terrifying and amazing at the same time, and just worked circles out of like half the women in there. Like just came in there and just started ripping people apart. And she didn't win, but that's okay. She was almost made it to the end, and she definitely has a character change going on. I have some theories about what that might lead to, but
all right, I'm gonna catch that one.
Yeah, overall, watch the Women's Rumble. It's good, but if you find yourself getting kind of like, I'm not into this, skip to the last 5 minutes and definitely watch the end of it, because the end of it was really good. It was really, really well done.
I'm pretty sure Michelle McCool is the Undertaker's wife, right?
Yep, that's the only reason why she was in there.
Did she wrestle in Uggs, bro? I swear when I saw her on the stage, like it looked like Uggs.
The story is she had been, because I can't believe I didn't see it on her Twitter, because I don't give a shit about Michelle McCool's Twitter. But like she had been tweeting beforehand, like, oh, I know we're in Texas and we live here, but they didn't call me this year. Sorry, guys, I'm just gonna watch as a fan. Oh well, haha. Well, she played that. The story was like they called her up and she didn't know, and she was in the crowd going like, oh my god, I didn't know I was in the Rumble. Like, you're calling me up there. And that's why she was wearing Uggs. But it was kind of screwed up because they were kind of really fast entries this year. I think they were like 90 seconds or less instead of 2 minutes. And so she basically went through the whole like, oh my God, me, in like really quick. So she did it too quickly. She was like, I can't believe it's me. Oh, okay. And then just immediately takes her shirt off and runs to the ring. And that's like, okay, that it could have been done better. But that's why she was in there, and that's why she was wearing Uggs.
Okay. Oh, good Lord. So that's what Nosferatu was saying. White girls wear Uggs. I just wanted to make sure. I was just like, I was like, those don't look like any wrestling attire I've seen. I was like, are those Uggs? So that's why I had to ask.
Honestly, I didn't see her because my eyes were immediately rolled up into my head like her husband's as soon as she came out. Because I was sick and tired of her coming out there all the damn time. just because she's married to the Undertaker. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody really remembers Michelle McCool like this legend. It's not like Trish Stratus coming out, you know?
Oh, that's way different.
That would have been great.
That's great. That'd been different. That'd been really different. But I mean, so now that we've got men's and women's Royal Rumble taken care of,
Mhm.
take me through this weird ass pitch black match. What the hell was that about?
Well,
I mean, I
first,
heard Mountain Dew was sponsoring us. So I'm like, I've never seen that.
This is what I want to know. This has happened at WWE. This has happened now with Vince gone, and it's happened when he was there too. They've had these product placement matches that I don't know where these things are coming from. They had a Pizza Hut Battle Royal one year where they did like spots with pizza. Like, and of course, the only person that shit worked with was Otis, and everybody else was like who the hell cares? They did for one of the zombie movies, I forget, on Netflix. Was it Something of the Dead? One of the Of the Dead movies. They did a zombie thing where the Miz and Miz and John Morrison were killed and eaten by zombies, and then showed up on Raw 2 weeks later somehow. Like, and there was another one, Pizza Hut, Mountain Dew, the zombie one, and then there was, I can't remember. There was another Mountain Dew, another one, but I don't want to know, is it the sponsors insisting on this, or is this like their meat-headed idea to capitalize or whatever like that on some sponsors? Because if so, I don't know why they didn't come up with it beforehand. It's not like they had a Skittles match or a Snickers match all these years.
I would have watched the Skittles match, but
I mean, compared to what happened, I would have preferred to watch Bray Wyatt and then LA Knight sit down and eat Skittles rather than exactly what happened. Like, it's unfortunate. It mainly makes people wonder, like, some people wonder, like, is Bray really actually good? Because a lot of his creative stuff doesn't land, and people always were blaming it for a long time on Vince. But this one wasn't on Vince. This one was completely on Bray. It was a quick match. At first, it just looked like it was a no DQ match. I'm like, that's it. The
5 minutes, something like that.
What?
It was like 5 minutes?
Yeah, it was 5 minutes. It was under black light. So the pitch black whole thing was like the lights went down and it was under black light. Now, here's the thing. Bray looked really fucking cool. Like, as soon as the lights went on, and he had invisible paint on that nobody really saw. And he had like huge mascara around his eyes when he came out. We're like, why is he wearing why are his eyes black like a raccoon? And then the lights go out and the black light comes on and he looks amazing. Like, he was like completely like a day glow undead creature. And it was awesome. And that's about it, because the match, you really couldn't see a lot of what was going on. But they put like these black light, like glowing beads to sort of like explode when they did a table spot, so you could see what was going on. But it just looked kind of cool. It just looked kind of, but it just looked cartoony, you know. And like, I don't think Bray is trying to be cartoony right now. At least I don't think.
I'm just going to try to share the screen while you're doing this. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes. It was over, and then there was some hocus shit at the end where he drags LA Knight he wears like a different. There you go. Yeah, like
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty damn cool, right?
That's pretty cool. Okay,
so at that point, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. All right, and then like 5 minutes later, it was like, all right, we can move on. Yeah, there was a spot at the end where like one of his Uncle Howdy or what are these people he's with, that's one of them is, by the way, is Bo Dallas, his brother. They just haven't said it yet, but it's definitely him. This just like did like an elbow, and they had pyro, and yes, Vince Russo would have absolutely loved it, and it made about as much sense as Undertaker and Kane fighting with lightning back in the day. That was awesome.
It was cool.
Was not.
Okay. I got you.
I'm just like, move on. I feel bad for LA Knight. He finally just started to get a foothold, get going, and get some attention, and now he just got squashed under Bray's creativity, and that bled into the Alexa match, as we'll get into. And I don't know where it's going, but I wanted to just get there so I can get past it.
Okay, all right. So what do we if you have, so now that you have to rate the pitch black match, what are you gonna give it?
Oh God. I'm very forgiving, so I'll say 2, bottom 2. You want to go lower than 2? Go for it. But I'll say 2 stars. Bray looked really cool. It didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. But I've watched wrestling for 30 years, and I've seen some horrifying shit. So you may go lower than 2. I'll give it 2 out of generosity, but I'll never watch it again. But I will. I'll I will look up gifs of Bray Wyatt's reveal. So that's something.
Okay. I mean, so basically, you're trying to give it based on the overall like I see the idea, it just didn't work as well as I thought, or just like is that why it's a 2 and not a 1? I know you usually don't go lower than 2, but
Well, it's a 2, not a 1, just because like I can't deny that like there were cool aspects of it. You know, Bray coming out and then the reveal and how he looked, and it was cool. You might think the black light shit was hot. Like you might just be like, oh, that's awesome. Like all these neon balls like exploding everywhere. The ropes were glowing green under the black light. There's a dude in the front row. Everybody that watches wrestling watches the nose green shirt. He always wears a lime green shirt. That's his name. And he always sits in like the middle of the front row. You always see him. As soon as the black light went on, his shirt exploded in light. And he became the only person you could see in the crowd. So when there's this much shit that's like entertaining, you could just sit there and crack a beer, just be like, look at that. I can't give it a 1 star. I gotta give it 2. But your mileage may vary.
Okay. All right. So now that we knocked out some of the I guess the 3 top ones, we also still had the men's and women's Raw Championship title matches. I keep forgetting now that there's a Raw and there's a SmackDown, and between pay-per-view events, I guess one title's on the line, or what? How's it working now?
It was Raw Women's, and the titles the world titles for men's are currently unified. They unified at WrestleMania last year.
Thank God. Okay.
So that's why. Yeah. And
God.
It was Raw Women's title with Bianca and Alexa. Charlotte didn't have a match or wasn't in the Rumble at all, and thank goodness, because we'll get enough of her now that she's back, so it's fine to keep her break. She didn't need to be there. There was no reason
back
for her
from
to
the
be there.
Busted titty, right?
Yeah. What? No, not the dental work. Like, yeah, either her tits are leaking or her teeth are falling out. Either way, it's always one or the other.
Christ.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. God damn. So how was the Bianca Belair match? How'd that go?
Yeah. Again, for me, like 2 stars. Won't begrudge you if you think it's less. Some people said it sucked. I didn't think it sucked, but it was just there. They obviously got cut for time. It only went like 7 minutes. It didn't feel like a big title match at all. And really, it was just sort of there to introduce more Bray Wyatt stuff with Alexa. At the end, like the Uncle Howdy character appeared on the screen, and she was like, and he was laughing and saying, "Do you feel in control?" And she looked upset because she had done promos beforehand saying she didn't need Uncle Howdy or Bray or anything like that to beat Bianca. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. Bianca tried. She's really great, but Bianca it wasn't meant to be. It might have been bad because it was cut for time. That's what happened to Ronda and Shotzi at Survivor Series. They were cut in half for time, and as a result, were completely thrown off. I feel bad for him there, but like, we're still getting Alexa Bliss with Bray Wyatt just because the two of them, like, they're very much, they worked on this stuff together. It came out, Alexa said that when Bray got fired during pandemic, he actually messaged her and said, and I quote, "Don't let them kill what we worked so hard to build." Because I'll say this for Alexa Bliss. She's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but she loves horror movies. Like, she's a legit horror movie fanatic. And she did put a lot of work into the whole Lily character and all that stuff and the aesthetic and everything like that. She works hard. I'll give her that. I'll definitely give her that. So I appreciated that. But again, it's like, where is it going? Can you please just get there? Because that way we'll either enjoy it or we can just move on quickly. So,
All right. I mean, it's kind of an aside and not a segue at all, but I was like, I keep seeing Jade Cargill, and I'm like, I know that she's in AEW though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's any chance she would defect to WWE, or do you think where she is the biggest stage that she can have?
I think
it's like, based on sight, she has it. You know what I mean?
Enormous.
To me.
There is an enormous. It's like MJF. Whenever Maxwell Jacob Friedman always teases like the bidding war of 2024, he's not cheating. Yeah. He's not teasing. He knows they take him, and he knows it will be a bidding war. That's absolutely legit. I think it's absolutely. I think it's inevitable that Jade goes to WWE.
I'm like, yo,
she's inevitable. She absolutely do what she can in AEW.
Swag. Yeah.
And also, she'd be a fool. I mean, I don't know what her contract looks like, but she'd be a fool to leave now anyway, because they have her being trained by Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, if no one ever put that together. So she's training directly with him and immediately becoming a lot better as a result. So if I was a wrestler, I'm not leaving. I don't care where where somebody wants me to work. I'm training one-on-one with one of the greatest wrestlers that ever lived. I'm staying put. So
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, who does she actually remind you of, either in the Attitude Era or before that? Like, can you put it one together, or just like, hey, she's her own thing at this point?
I mean, she's definitely like China. In
That
that
I didn't
whole
want to
like,
say, but I want to ask, like, is that
well,
what
yeah,
you
not in
see it?
terms of work, but in terms of just like spectacle and like attention and like she's sort of like China. Who else is she's like? She's okay. She's an okay promo. She's got good presence.
Right.
Yeah, she's almost as if like this is going to sound weird. She's sort of like China meets Brock Lesnar. She's not
Huh.
nearly as good as Brock, of course, but just because like the size, like for in the women's division,
Yeah.
she's monstrous. She's huge. So
Right.
she's a monster, and she's decent. She has presence. She has look, but much like China, like she has like the presence of China, but the size of Brock. So
I
she
would
was a
think.
much better worker than China ever was. So definitely.
China and Luna Vachon. Okay. Feel that.
Maybe
Okay.
she's not as crazy as Luna was, but I don't know. There's always time. Always time to hone your gimmick.
I got you. So we said for the women's title match, like, you gave it overall, because I know that what Bianca Belair won, but I mean,
I said like, yeah, just low, low two, high. If you go lower than that, that's fine because it was just sort of there, but it wasn't bad or anything. It was just there, and if it was cut for time and it wasn't their fault, I'm not going to hold that against them.
okay, all right.
So
Whatchamacallit? I was gonna see. Abomination AJ had this to say. He's not liking what I'm seeing from Rey Mysterio's son. I know that he wore one of his dad's masks when he entered the Rumble this year, right?
well, yeah, Rey Mysterio was called at like number 17 and didn't come out. And then Dominic came out at number 18 wearing Rey's mask, sort of saying like, we just, and there's a whole thing on Raw where like him and Rhea are like messing with Rey and like beating up his father. It's actually really well done. It's like like all this like family drama stuff. So it's like, I remember I commented afterwards, I was like, oh shit, Dominic and Rhea actually ganked Rey's spot. Like they took his own dad out to eliminate him from the match. Well, as it came out, I think earlier this morning or over the weekend, like on Sunday or so, it wasn't just that. Rey got injured in a match with Karrion Kross on SmackDown, and so he was pulled from the Rumble. And so they had the idea to have Dominic, make it look like he jacked him up.
Okay,
Which
all
is
right,
that's not the worst. That's
makes sense.
pretty good. Pretty cool idea. Hopefully Rey's not hurt too bad.
Okay. All right, then I'll take it then, as long as because I remember that used to be a thing too. Is like they would either fake them getting jumped backstage to cover the injury, why they couldn't wrestle, or
Yeah, they
just
would
to
do
have a
that.
situation like that. So I was like, all
Or
right,
they would take somebody out in order to do an angle, like in 2004 when Test was supposed to come out and he didn't, and instead like Mick Foley ran out and eliminated Randy Orton because they were doing their feud. That was awesome. Because nobody gave a shit about Test being in the Rumble, so
they didn't.
yeah.
The
But
only
then
feud-
and everybody thought like maybe it had a good storyline reason for happening, but it turns out in real life it happened because Ray got hurt. So,
yeah, I'll take it. All right. I mean,
yeah.
so now that we got that one taken care of as well. So in terms of the men's title match, we had what I know that we had was it Roman Reigns this year?
Yeah,
Because he's a champion. Who did he was wrestling?
Kevin
Who did he?
Owens.
Yes. All right. Take me through that one then.
Yeah, and note to Nosferatu, if you want to call me a wrestler, it's obvious I'm Kevin Owens for the company. I just don't. My beard, unfortunately, I'm having alopecia issues, so my beard fell out. So
It was a heavenly beard. It really was a
thank
Kevin
you.
Owens
Hopefully
beard.
I'll get it back someday.
All right.
But yeah, turns out I want to smack the shit out of Chris Rock too. So, but yeah, it's so I feel an affinity for KO because he's sort of like the person I identify with, at least like physically, and because we're both smartasses. But it was actually the third time Roman and Kevin Owens had a match at the Royal Rumble. It was kind of like going to the well too many times, but it really wasn't about the match at all. The match was good. It was a good title match, but it wasn't about the match at all. It was about the storyline stuff with Sami Zayn afterwards.
Okay, what happened with Sami Zayn on that one?
Oh, I mean, this is what's getting like people are saying the men's Rumble was the best match, but this was like the storyline reason. Like this is the best story. It finally happened. They've had this story for months now, where Sami Zayn wants to join Roman and the Usos, the Bloodline, wants to join an honorary Uso and was just bugging them. And they eventually they let him in. He proved his worth. They called him an honorary Uso. Like it was really cool stuff. But everybody knew what was happening, especially since Triple H is the one writing this stuff now. Longtime wrestling fans knew that this was going to be the Four Horsemen and Sting. This is going to be the famous thing in 1990 where Sting was in the Horsemen and they turned on him and destroyed him to build to a big title win for Sting versus Ric Flair. And it didn't happen exactly that way, but it was Sammy was trying really hard to impress them, and there was ups and downs, and then it finally came to a head on at the Rumble afterwards, where Roman beat Kevin Owens in a decent match, and then they handcuffed him to the ropes, like crucified style too. Now usually they just do like one handcuff nowadays, but like Kevin was like strung up, like this, and they started blasting him with a chair and beating him up, and Roman told Sammy to prove himself one last time, and I'm simplifying things, by the way, but we'll be here all night. So like he told him to blast him one last time and prove it. Sammy couldn't do it. He hit Roman instead. The pop was insane. 51,000 people all cheered at the same time. It was huge. Like it was top 10. Like it was like one of those pops that Stone Cold used to get when the glass would break and he'd come out like, you were just to save somebody or whatever, it was just the crowd went mental when he hit Roman. And then the Bloodline destroyed him afterwards. But for the first time, like Roman it's been called cool heel heat. He wasn't really getting like, I hate you, like I want to see you be dethroned. Everybody's feeling like, oh yeah, Roman's really cool. This time the whole crowd started chanting "fuck you, Roman." They had to bleep it out or overlay it, but like he would do. They were chanting "fuck you, Roman," which is real like I hate you heel heat, and that's what sells tickets. They have found this out many times. All wrestling promoters have found this out, that what really sells tickets is a clear babyface, a clear good guy versus a clear heel. Clear bad guy. And Roman for 2 years now has been like, or at least a follower has been cool. He's been like a cool heel that you appreciate. But now he's got a thing with Sammy going on where people hate him for this and they want to see him lose. And as a result, there was real mystery of whether or not whether Sammy should win the Royal Rumble versus Cody. Because that's the story they're building now is everybody wants to see Sammy get his revenge. Get betrayed and then get his revenge on Roman. So they were smart to do it. Like they were smart to set it up so that people, if they had done this before, like they did with Daniel Bryan, but he took off, then it would have been a huge mistake because then everybody would have been like hoping Sammy was in the Rumble and then booing with it. But because they didn't do the turn until afterwards, which is why they opened with the Rumble.
Okay.
See, this is why Triple H is good at this shit. Like he understands like, do this at the end. So now we already have a Rumble winner. Cody won the Rumble fair and square. Okay. Right. Well, now we got Sammy and Roman is now the main event for the next pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, which is in Montreal, which is where Sammy and Kevin Owens worked out of. They're both Canadians. It aligns perfectly. We just wanted to see like how it worked out, but it was really, really well done. Yeah. So like I said, for the first time, Roman Reigns is getting like not the first time, like he's been a heel, but this is like we want to see you die and we want to cheer for somebody, and it's Sammy. And somebody said Sammy should do some push-ups. I mean, look him up in NXT back when his his heyday, 2015, before he was joining the main roster. Like he's not ripped or anything like that, but he was more built. And finally, he's a babyface. Sami Zayn and Bayley are two people that I'm like, they're still heels? They're still bad? Like. Those were the two people when they came up I thought were going to be the goodest good guys that you've ever seen. Like no one could possibly boo them. Like they're super ultra baby faces. And I mean, they've been killing it as heels ever since. Bayley's super entertaining. Sammy's been super entertaining as a heel as well. But now finally Sammy's back to being a baby face. So
I swear to God, if that happens, I'd be pissed.
Pull events in Canada.
I really hope not. I mean, I hope that's where you don't see his hand come in with his consulting that he's been doing as of late.
No. I mean, honestly, the Rumble was a good indicator that he was not ruining everything with his fingerprints. Like it was a good show. So
okay, I'll take it. So I mean, for WrestleMania 39, then so we've got Cody Rhodes and we've got Jesus, we just said his name, Roman Reigns for the title, right?
So far.
Or how's it supposed to go? All right, so I mean, are they trying to think? Are you thinking that come WrestleMania there's going to be some kind of interference, or do you think Sammy's going to wind up getting the belt, or what do you think is going to wind up happening?
I really have no idea, because like it's pretty clear the Sammy and Roman is the main event for the next show, and it should be.
Right.
Some people have thought that like Elimination Chamber was going to be like trial by combat for Sammy, where he would have to like they would all be in there, and if he won, he would be allowed to live, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. But
Okay.
I have no idea. It really looks like they're building up Sammy to like go against Roman, and it looked like he was going to get his revenge, but he doesn't win at the end, because I for a while now I thought the clear direction for WrestleMania was Cody versus Roman for the world title, and Sammy and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the tag titles, because the Usos have been dominant as tag champs for like a year now, maybe longer. They've been for longer than a year as well. So I thought Mania was going to be all about dethroning the Bloodline. In one night, the Bloodline loses all the titles that they have. I don't know, maybe Solo Sikoa will have a singles match and he'll lose and somebody will get victorious. I don't know. But I always thought that was going to be what it was. That was going to be the story. And it may be. But they do have a bit of a problem on their hands, because they've done the Sammy versus Roman story so well. You really want to see Sammy get his revenge. So honestly, I can't say I know what the hell is going to go on or what they're going to do. I have no idea.
That's what I want to double check out, because I keep forgetting it's 3 months between now and WrestleMania, and I'm like, how many times has the title changed hands between that time frame to where you don't necessarily get the heat and the title match you were looking for at that time frame? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, just if I'm sitting here just spitballing, WrestleMania is 2 nights. There was a theory that Roman was going to work 2 matches. He was going to work Saturday and Sunday. They could split the titles, and they could have Sammy and Cody both go for. This is how they split the titles. They ununify and they go for both. They could do that.
Okay.
Also, you could pivot, and so that Roman works a match against Sammy on Saturday, but it's not for the title. It's just like a grudge match. It's like. Sammy's like, I don't even care about the title. I just want to beat you. That's all I care about is beating you. And so they have a rematch from Elimination Chamber. Maybe it's a gimmick or something like that. Who knows? And then the title match the next night, Roman could be like, he finally loses to Sammy and everything like that. And he's just like, well, I still have my title at least. And like, but now he's shaken and he doesn't know if he's going to be able to destroy Cody like you thought he would. And that's how I have no idea. They could do that. But they could also just decide, hey, it's time to split the titles back up again. You guys are fighting for each. I don't know.
You know what? I'll take. The only thing I can think of is like one of those triple threat ladder matches for the title to get all 3 of them in there and just settle it once and for all. That's the only thing I can think of. But even then,
they did that 2 years ago with was Roman versus Daniel Bryan and Edge, when they were like they wanted to do Roman versus Edge, but they weren't sure that like Roman Edge was enough to carry the show, or that Edge was going to be able to hang in there for like a real long main event match. So they threw Daniel Bryan in just to sort of like keep everything going. And also they realized during that match, like, hey, let's have Roman beat both guys at once. Remember he stacked them one on top of each other and pinned them.
Jesus.
Like, and that was pretty cool. I thought, see, that's when Roman was getting cool. Like, yeah, this guy's a badass bad guy and everything like that. This year it's like, fuck you, Roman. We want you to die. Like it used to be when he was a good guy. Oddly enough.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would like the idea of Ripley versus Asuka versus Charlotte. The only problem is I know that we've seen triple threat matches involving Charlotte, and Charlotte usually always comes out on top. And that's
Charlotte always comes out on top no matter what match she's in. I mean,
and that's the issue. It's like to me, it's like there are no stakes because I know what's going to happen.
I'm pretty sure when they get to the arena and they open up the catering tables, she just walks into the front of the line in front of everybody, and they're like, okay, like she gets. They spoil the shit out of her. I know. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, when it happened on Raw, Rhea Ripley challenged Charlotte, and they're calling back to WrestleMania 36, I think it was, during the pandemic, where like they fought for NXT title and Charlotte beat her, and everybody's like, why did Charlotte beat Ripley? That makes no sense. Ripley had just won the NXT title like a couple of months ago. Like it really made no sense for Charlotte to beat her. So maybe they want to redo that. But yeah, they could make it a triple threat or anything like that. Also, I thought if Rhea is challenging Charlotte for the SmackDown Championship, You
Okay.
could have Bianca versus Asuka, because Asuka is a heel now. The way
Okay.
she came back, but she's also a cool heel. Like I said, like she's not just
Yeah.
you don't want to really boo her. You're just kind of you think she's awesome, even if she's doing
Yeah.
evil things. So it's like I don't know. Are they going to do Asuka Bianca? I mean, that's a fresh match for sure. It's never been done before. It would probably be hard hitting and really good, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know
All
what
right.
they're going to do.
Yeah, I have no idea either. It's just every time I see Shies, it's hard for me. I've never seen her get pinned, actually. Like every time
Charlotte?
I've watched it with you, I've never seen her lose.
Well, it's funny. They did it. What year was that? Was that 2016 or 2017? There was a run where Charlotte and Sasha Banks, who obviously isn't coming back for a while, if ever, at this point.
How bad is it?
It's not bad. It's just she's got the ability to do other stuff, and so she's going to do it. You know,
I don't
she's
blame
not.
her.
She doesn't. You know, she can work in Japan, which she's doing, like, and not get shit for it. She can partner with whatever kind of fashion or music thing that she wants to do, and not get shit for it, or not have somebody to like own it. So it's obvious she's not coming in, at least coming back, at least for a while, if not ever. But what was I saying with
Shit, I kind of blanked on it too for the match. Shit, y'all chat help us out. We definitely blanked on where we were going. I was trying to say we'd never seen her sing.
Oh, you say you never saw her pin? Yeah, in 2017 they had a series where like her, Charlotte and Sasha were fighting over I think it was the Raw women's belt, and three times, not five times, three times, Charlotte, the title changed hands every time. Sasha beat Charlotte on TV, but Charlotte would win it back at the next pay-per-view. So Sasha never had the belt for more than like a month, and it was everyone's like, "Well, she won the title. She beat Charlotte on how many more millions of people watch TV versus pay-per-views," which is always the argument. But it's like, yeah, but you don't remember random episodes of Raw.
You do not.
You remember pay-per-views. Those are much more memorable. Those have more clout, So,
and I paid for that shit too.
Yeah. So of course, and I remember everybody rolled their eyes at the time. They were like, they tried to say, "Wow, we had Sasha win the belt 3 times and beat her 3 times." I'm like, yeah, and then you immediately gave it right back. So they're just, and it turns out what they're doing. Part of the reason they're doing that is because they want Charlotte to have more titles than her dad. So
how many did Ric Flair? 10.
Unofficially, it's more. It's 16. The number they always use is 16. And there was a bunch of shit he did in the 80s. Like, yeah, here's the thing. If you think Ric Flair, anybody watching, if you think he's a 6-time champion, it's more like 23. He lost the title to Harley Race in New Zealand for like a couple weeks. He lost the title. There's a famous match that's on YouTube in Dominican Republic where the crowd was going to, it was 1984. The crowd was going to riot if Ric Flair won the match. So Ric Flair called an audible in the middle of the ring, was like, pin me, please, so we can get out of here alive. And he lost the title to this dude, Jack Veneno, who's like a Dominican Republican hero, Dominican Republic hero in wrestling that nobody here knows because it was their television and not ours. But yeah, the crowd was going to riot if Ric Flair won. So he was like, pin me. And
get this over with, please. Okay.
The number they bandy about is always 16. And it looks like Charlotte's going to be, she's going to break the record, in a different way. She's going to be 17-time women's champ. It's not the same as Rick, but it's also, a bigger number, blah, 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 whatever. All it's done is just make Charlotte look spoiled, in my opinion. And that's unfair because Charlotte's really good. Anybody roll their eyes? Charlotte is one of the best female women wrestlers of all time, hands down. Sorry.
Yeah, very naturally athletic. Yeah, that natural selection shit. I was like, yo, first time I saw it, I didn't know it was
I loved Trish and Lita back in the day as much as anyone loved that. Charlotte wrestled circles around them. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that takes us to pretty much the last thing we'll close out with was Nosferatu was asking favorite match of all time. You got which one was it?
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Let me just whittle 30 years down.
All right, let's go with pay-per-view and TV.
Well, you know what? Actually, I do my favorite match. Let's do this. Like, I have so many favorite matches. The best match, 2 best matches. I don't know. I really have 3. All right. There's the best match I've ever seen live, which is Andrade versus Johnny Gargano at NXT. When NXT was here in Philly, I think it was 2018. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would just be a good match. It was the best match. It was a 5-star classic, best match I've ever seen live.
Okay,
But the best men's match I've ever seen still, and I watched it again recently, Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles in TNA. It was a show called Unbreakable 2005. I watched it over Landon's house for the first time.
Wow.
Still to this day, my favorite wrestling match of all time. It is just nonstop, like 20 minutes of 3 guys beating the ever-living bejesus out of each other and a hot crowd. And I loved Samoa Joe and AJ and Chris Daniels. I loved all 3 guys. Still my favorite, the best match I've ever seen all the time. But in the interest of fairness and inclusiveness, best women's match, hands down, Sasha versus Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. It's a famous one where Bayley won the NXT World Women's title, and they told a great story about Bayley just being this nice, happy person that just gets dogged on by Sasha all the time and just treated like shit. It was emotional. There was the 4 horsewomen thing where Charlotte and Becky and Sasha, they all stood in the ring and they did the whole, the 4 horsewomen of NXT kind of thing that they were that definitely revolutionized. The whole women's revolution in wrestling is not a catchphrase. It ramped up considerably because of those ladies and a few others that don't get credit, like Paige and Emma and stuff like that. But that's the best, still to this day, the best women's match I've ever seen. And those would be the 2 best men's matches. The best live match I've ever seen with Andrade and Johnny. And then capping off the best match to this day, the reigning champ is still that 3-way from TNA Unbreakable 2005. AJ in his prime, Joe in his prime, and Christopher Daniels. And if none of you people know Christopher Daniels, tune in because he's every bit as good as any wrestler you've ever seen. Trust me. So, what about you?
Okay, dude, I'm trying to remember because I had to split it between. I'm trying to remember if they did this in WWE or WWE or WCW. It was when Rey Mysterio won the world title. They made him give it back at some point. I forget what it was. I'm talking about that one.
No, I thought you meant the Mania one that was
no, not
really
that
short.
one. Not that one. That was WCW,
right? Wasn't it John Cena? He won a tournament. And then Cena came out at the end and challenged him that night, said I want to be there, and then won it from him at the end of the night. So
something like that. It was so weird, but I'm like, I watch wrestling, but it's always the big bruises. And dude, you've seen me. You know how tall that I'm not. So you see this little guy that has to be 150 pounds running out of the ring. I'm like, what is this skinny little dude with a mask gonna do? And the first time I saw him actually flip off of the mat and actually slam on somebody, I'm like, this guy's different. So I was like, they always made it so where he was a cruiserweight champ because it's that was when the cruiserweight thing was popping with Juventud Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, even Billy Kidman at one point was in that. And the cruiserweights were great, and so you're like, well, okay, this is all he's ever gonna be. So when he won the title, my ass lit up. I'm like, you know what, Rey Mysterio for life. So I think that was the best live one that I saw, which was might have been for WCW or WWE. I don't know which one. Best pay-per-view, that shit with Undertaker and Mankind Hell in a Cell. When he threw his ass off of oh my God. I'd never seen any stunt like that before. And so, you try to catch it and you didn't really see it. I just saw something fall and you're like, wait, you're like, oh my God, he pushed him off. So I didn't know it was that high degree of sports entertainment that you could do that. You'd see him getting thrown up against the cage and it looks bad when you're like, 10 or 11 is how old I was when it happened. But
it's certainly one of my favorite matches of all time. Just, and I guess if you refine the question, it might be my number one, but as I watch wrestling, I appreciate good matches. And that one is more about just the crazy spectacle of it all rather than the match itself.
Yes. So, it's hard to remember just how the match finished, but you always remember him.
You remember the spots
thrown off. You're like, oh my God. I know that they tried to have Shane redo it and just it wasn't the same after that. Yeah. But I mean,
for me,
oh shit, when they powerbomb Mae Young. Yeah. You told me about how Vince was like, don't you fucking kill her, bro.
What's funny is when he said Bubba Ray said in the interview was when Mae Young, before they went out there, she was like, you better slam me through that table, bitch. Mae Young didn't fuck around. Mae Young was like, don't you hold pro punches just because I'm 70 years old. Fuck you. Slam me.
Oh man, yeah, like that is definitely my top two spots. I mean, honorable mentions are the WrestleMania where good God, Daniel Bryan won. So I mean, that's always
Yeah.
like
See,
a memorable moment. But it
that's
was
another thing
just
too. Like, not the best, not my favorite pure match, but one of my favorite
mhm,
moments in wrestling.
moments, right?
Where it was just like they stretched it out and like, oh my god, and is it going to happen? And then just right when
Right.
you think like you're just not sure, and he comes flying off screen, hits Batista, and everything like that. And
Yeah.
also, honorable mention in that match in particular was Randy Orton almost getting impaled on a monitor. Remember when he did the table spot and he
Jesus
landed right on the
Christ.
monitor and he like arched his back up? We all
Yeah.
thought he broke his back. That's still to this day, everybody sees that and goes like, Jesus.
Shit.
So
I mean, I think the other honorable mention would have been God. Was it? It wasn't Fastlane or SummerSlam, but it was in Philly where they had that Punjabi match, and I'm like, if I could have fucking seen what I was looking at, it would have been a great match. It was John Cena
we were
and
there.
I
We were
know
at
we
that
were there.
show.
I'm just like, I couldn't see shit through the bamboo, man. It was like we were at this weird angle where we couldn't see down and we couldn't be close to see through. So I'm just like, I
Yeah.
thought I saw somebody fall. I had to ask you, like, dude, who fell? Who's winning? Then it went
I,
backstage
I
at one
my
point, so we couldn't see around the bamboo.
Yeah, no, that was my brain at that watching that match. My brain just like up and floated out of my head, and I
Jesus.
went into just hibernation mode during that because I couldn't see a damn thing. I think
Yeah.
I didn't even know what was going on until Great Khali came out of the end. I was just like, hey, look, it's Great Khali, like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
remember
was
I had
definitely.
like,
I would say that's the worst match I've ever seen live. Absolutely,
okay, fair
that's
point.
the worst
Fair.
match I've ever seen live for sure.
There. I guess another honorable mention was the AEW. It was their second actual live event that they had when we were in Philly,
Yeah.
and they had that little kid with MJF. Who did they pin? They gave him the world title for like 5 or 10 seconds. He was the little Orange Cassidy kid, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where they actually
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that made it to TV. I think that might have just been like
Oh,
special
darn.
for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was
It
an
was
honorable
there,
mention
but
because if you weren't there, you didn't see it.
yeah, yeah. That's not. Oh, I don't think. There might be. Honestly, that was the age. That was definitely. That was only a couple of years ago. I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody caught video of it.
Yeah, I say just
Absolutely.
for the fun of it. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining us this evening on a Tuesday. I'll try to give y'all a better warning next time. We're definitely gonna have Douglas in for more of our sports entertainment segments, especially as WrestleMania draws near. We're gonna have to hear about there any changing storylines or if there are any developments. Who's injured, who's gonna be replacing them, so on and so forth. But thank you guys again for joining us. But for now, for Douglas, do you have anything coming up with either UCNX, anything with WTF, or just kind of you guys are waiting, seeing what's going to happen before WrestleMania?
I mean, this is always the best time to be a wrestling fan because from the Rumble to Mania, where just everybody's talking, everybody's theorizing, everybody's nerding out over what might happen and reacting to it. And right in the middle of all this is the next AEW pay per view, Revolution, which is like sometime in February, a couple weeks from now.
Okay.
So you got that, you got Elimination Chamber and Rumble, so you got everything like corresponding and going around together, and it's a big time right now too because everybody's still talking about the death of Jay Briscoe. They were not in
Yeah.
WWE or AEW. Well, they technically were in AEW, but they weren't allowed on TV for all sorts of shitty reasons I won't go into. But a famous indie wrestler died, and so everybody's like, there's tribute shows going on to him now and everything. But this is the time for wrestling nerds we get together and just nerd out completely until the Raw after WrestleMania, which has sucked the last couple of years. But without Vince,
Okay.
who knows? The Rumble
Okay.
sucked last year and didn't suck this year. So for anything else that's in the hopper, like it's still in the hopper. It's still baking. I'm not at liberty to discuss anything coming
This
up.
man
But as we go on,
got the juice, man. Okay.
I'll have stuff. I'll have stuff to pimp as we go on. Trust you.
Okay. All right. Guys, if you actually want more up to date and up to the minute updates, check out Wrestling's Troop Fans on Facebook. It's a fantastic group, and they give you anything and everything you want to know about what's happening, what's happened, or what's going to happen. But for Tuesday night, this is dOGulas and E.G.O out.